everybody, this is Allie, or Absolutely Allie, as some people call me. Welcome to the SOCIALpreneur podcast. I'm super excited about this episode. I think this is episode 4 or 5. I've lost count, but I'm excited about our guest, and I'll introduce her here in a second after we do, the introduction of the whole podcast and everything. But the SOCIALpreneur is someone who uses social media to build their brand and their business. I always strive to bring you all people that can help you with your business or talk about what they did, and it may spark an interest in you, and it may, give you that idea or that business plan that you need. And I also like to bring you people that you might want to collab and work with, because I love collaborating with people and I want to be a connector. So I always strive to bring you people like that. So if you know anyone that is a socialpreneur, definitely reach out to me. I'll put all my information down below. If you haven't listened to the last couple episodes of the podcast, make sure you do that. Share, help a sister out. We all like to do that. It's free just to share for the podcast. So let's jump into our guest today. We've been friends for a little while, and we haven't collaborated, but we talk a lot, and we've been at some of the same events. So I was super excited when her name popped up that she had scheduled to be on the podcast, because I had somebody reach out to her, and we just haven't had time to do that connect. And I feel like this is where it's going to be. So Rosa Hart is our guest today. She is in Louisville. I don't think she's a Louisville native. I'll let you all know, or let her tell you all where she's from. But she has a podcast called Lou Food Reviews, or Lou Reviews.
So it was originally Louisville Food Reviews, and then we rebranded to the Lou Review.
So she's a foodie, which I love. I'm a foodie. I don't have a podcast or a page about it, but I love my food. Ask my husband. She also has a great social media presence called Rosa Raves. She has another social media presence where she is a nurse, and she's a stroke nurse, so she can help anybody out that's in a certain situation like that. And nurses are very close to my heart, because I have a lot of friends that are nurses. So, and it takes a special person to want to take care of other people. So I'll have her talk to you all a little bit about that. And then, we might just chat and see what we're up to, what she's up to. So Rosa, welcome. How are you?
Well, thank you, Allie. I appreciate you having me on your show today.
You're welcome. Welcome. So tell us a little bit about you. Tell us, you can start with either, the social media, or you can start with your background, the nursing background.
Right. That's well, and there is a connection. So I was a nurse. Well, I have been a nurse for a while. I did 8 years in the ICU with stroke patients. And so at that time, I got to see some really great recoveries, and then also walk with patients and their families through the hardest days of their lives, and got to see some worst case scenarios. And that was really hard on me and got me contemplating my own mortality quite a bit. And when the pandemic hit, I started the foodie blog thing, adventuring around Louisville, because we couldn't really travel anywhere. Everything was pretty locked down. But once things started to open up, we were checking out local restaurants and seeing what was safe to eat at, and kind of letting people know that the precautions were being taken. It was safe to go out to eat and to support those local businesses. And that's when I started learning about social media, posting pictures of our visits to those restaurants and tagging the restaurants so that they would, have that on their page as content. And so it is kind of related, that one thing kind of grew into the other.
Right. As a person that, had a full-time job for 15 years before I started blogging and influencing, I know that bridge and that gap. You learn so much from your everyday full-time job that you take with you into other things, other businesses. And you're always thankful for those jobs because they give you those resources and everything. So what kind of really sparked that interest after you went and there was COVID and everything was shut down, and you were tasting food and everything. So what really sparked that interest to say, hey, I'm going to do this? I don't know if you call yourself an influencer. What made you say, okay, I'm starting this podcast because I've tasted a lot of great things, or I just want to get other things out to the world so other people can have this? So what was that key factor?
Well, for me, it's all about connecting with people. And one of my best friends at the time, it was actually his idea to start the podcast. And we both like seafood, and his roommate and my husband both don't like seafood and don't even want to smell it. And so he was like, okay, well, we'll just go to a seafood restaurant, and Pier 17 had just opened up. He's like, we'll go check it out together and we'll review it.
Ugh.
And I was like, well, that's funny. How are you going to review it? You can't spell. And he was like, oh, we don't need to write anything. We'll just make it a podcast. And I was like, what is a podcast? And I don't want to buy like all this equipment and stuff.
Yeah.
And he's like, we can just do it from our phone. So we did. And honestly, to this day, 4 years later, I'm still doing the Lou Review podcast from my phone, keeping it minimal. But through going around to all these local restaurants, which was also his idea, because I'm from Tennessee. I didn't know Louisville culture. I didn't know we had a culinary school here. I didn't know about all these amazing small businesses that were here. So it was a huge learning curve for me. Like, I definitely was learning as we were going. And so as I was meeting all these different restaurant owners and hearing their stories and what inspired them, I was like, I want to do this every day. I love this. And, in a time when you've got a lot of anxiety and there's a lot of unknowns and then a lot of pitting people against each other, food was like this great unifier. And also meeting so many amazing people with so many great stories about how they are, working their tails off to make the community a better place. I really wanted to amplify those stories and get those out there because the world needs more positivity.
Definitely. I totally agree with you. Like, I heard you say two things I want to touch on. One, that through your friend in this podcast, you learned and met other people because it made you get out more. And it also, introduced you to probably new foods and things that you didn't.
Oh, so many.
Know that was here. And
I had my first tequila shot for that, okay, at the age of like 32.
And how was that? Your first one at 32?
It was really good. It was Herradura, and it was at Limoni Sal, and it was amazing. Yeah.
It was good. I like tequila. I don't know about tequila shots so much, but I do like tequila and a good margarita.
And Limoni Sal has huckleberry margaritas, by the way.
You all heard it here. All heard it here. I'll have to go there. I've been there a couple times. I haven't been in a while, so.
Yeah, and they're opening a new location in what used to be the Raven. I can't wait.
Oh, okay. I was wondering what was going there. So locals, if you didn't know that, there you go. You got some insider tips. And then I also heard that you say that during COVID, and we talked about this, this also helped other you doing this helped other businesses. And I know it helps them still now, because not just in Louisville, everywhere, that industry, that food industry was going through a super hard time. Yeah. And I feel like you talking about different places sparked people's interest to maybe just even go order, because a lot of times we couldn't sit down and do that. Just go order and get food from it. So I commend you for doing that, because it was so much needed during that time. And now, I mean, it's hard for Louisville is such a foodie city. It's hard for new businesses, restaurants to come in when there's all these established ones and for them to survive. But with people like you talking about them, it honestly, it helps them. So thank you for doing that.
I mean, it's really surprising, like, how much one thing can make such a big difference. Like, we went to Abel Cafe, which is an Ethiopian coffee house here in Louisville. And the owner has a very thick Ethiopian accent. And so he had been making some content for social media, but I came in and like filmed the process of them doing the Ethiopian coffee ceremony. And because I posted that reel up, someone else came in and gave them this huge opportunity that really opened up a partnership for them that became really financially helpful for them. So you're right. I mean, you never know what one act of kindness will do to
Right.
grow.
And you were doing this one for fun. I mean, it's something to do for fun. And then it's helped, I wouldn't say save other people's lives, but it's helped made other people's lives a whole lot better and financially better.
That's okay. I save lives at my day job. It's not, I don't have to do it in my off time.
You know what? This honestly, you could have saved a restaurant's life, like their lifeline. So what, I'm not going to even ask you what your favorite restaurant is, because I'm not going to even put you out there like that. But what are some of your favorite types of food? You don't even have to say certain restaurants. What are some of your favorite types of food as doing this?
Cheese.
I love cheese. I like cheese too. So maybe we'll talk and you can tell me where to go for some good cheese.
Oh, for sure. I mean, well, salsaritas, queso, and chips. I mean, that's a good go-to. But yeah.
There's one down the street for me, and I haven't been there in a while either.
There you go.
It's probably the same one that's down the street from you too, actually.
Probably.
So where do you see this podcast and the corresponding social media? Where do you see this going in the next year or the next, 5 years? I know you and I think have talked about, and this is why you've changed your name too, because you eventually want to venture out. And I think you already have, because I see you traveling a lot.
Yeah.
Venture out to different places. So what do you see happening here soon?
Well, so I definitely am going to keep the Lou Review local, hence the name. And there's still so many amazing people to interview here in Louisville. I mean, you would be one of them if you want to come on. I'd love to interview you.
Yeah.
We'll go back and forth. But like, I've been to 400 restaurants in Louisville in the last 4 years. Okay. So I had to start traveling because I'm almost there, but we have so many independently owned restaurants here. If you don't know about Louisville, the foodie city, come here and find out. Right. But I've really taken my social media in a different direction as far as expanding it to not just be local to Louisville. I've been traveling a lot more with the other podcasts that I'm doing and the other like speaking at nursing conferences and things like that. And so when I go out to eat there or want to do some touring around, I want to be able to share about them. And that's not just about Louisville. And at first I started doing like out of town alert in my stories, but then it got a little too frequent. So
you do. She does travel a lot. You travel for work and then you travel with your family too. Because I've seen some of the places that you go. You brought up the other podcast. Tell us a little bit about that one too, because I definitely want to touch on that, because I feel like that is a huge resource for many, many people that are going through stroke with other family members, or if they had one themselves. So talk a little bit about that podcast.
Well, I have 3 other podcasts now.
Okay.
But the one you're mentioning, because it really set off the rest, is Stronger After Stroke, which I make for the Norton Neuroscience Institute at Norton Healthcare. And that came about because they wanted to create podcasts. And since I've already had the Lou Review going on for a couple of years, they're like, do you want to make one for your stroke patients? And you can talk to the higher ups about like what the content needs to be, make sure we get a plan and everything. And I was like, okay, I would love to do that. So I went away and 2 hours later came back with 2 pages of ideas of topics and who I would interview, because I had been talking to stroke survivors every day for 2 years by this point, repeating myself a lot because it's a lot of the same issues. No 2 strokes are the same, but there are a lot of frequently asked questions that can be answered, but those answers are very specific, very specialized.
Right.
Like we have an episode on migraine and stroke, and there's a lot of people who experience migraine. Some can mimic stroke symptoms, and if once they have a stroke, then they're like, "Oh no, do I need to go to the ER every day when I'm having a headache?" And so he took one of our specialists took the time to really differentiate how to know when to go to the ER. So that was very important, and that and stroke survivors sharing their stories about what was helpful for them in their recovery to let other people know that they can have a good recovery after stroke as well. So that's very encouraging, and it's now been heard in 70 countries.
I just got chills when you were talking about all of that, because
Yeah.
that touched my heart. That,
Yeah.
I mean, that you even wanted to do that for other people. So thank you for that.
Yeah. I mean, it's awful to like hear them, the fear in their voices every day. And I can't be with them at home. I can't stay on every single phone call for hours reassuring them, except now there are 24 episodes out providing reassuring educational information so that they can, and they'll tell me, they'll call me back and they'll be like, I listened to several episodes. I listened with my husband or with my wife or whatever. And now we're just so much less afraid, because they have to wait on their follow-up appointments, and there's just so many unknowns. And to be able to just alleviate that fear for them, whereas I couldn't before, is such a gift. I'm very thankful for that opportunity.
Oh, awesome. You are giving, like you said, you are giving a gift to other people by just doing that. Your presence there, because you know so much about it, and you're talking about it, and you're connecting people with resources and other people that have gone through the same thing that they have, and in such a different way than it has been done before. And it's so easy, like they could be just sitting in the car going on a trip with somebody, and they can just be sitting there listening to it. Or I like to listen to podcasts when I'm walking my dog or cooking dinner. So perfect. So what other podcasts do you have? Let me just say this. So the podcasts, all the ones that she talks about, we'll put links to them down in the comments so they can, and your social media, so people can connect with you and listen to the podcast. So what other podcasts do you got going on, girl?
Okay. So the other two grew out of Stronger After Stroke as well. So this February, I got to go to the International Stroke Conference for the American Heart Association and present a poster about the podcast. And it won first place. And not only that, but I felt like the hugest compliment was after the conference, they sent out an email to all 5,000 attendees with the top 3 takeaways from the conference. And just for context, we had a call in from the International Space Station sharing their cardiovascular research without gravity, which was very impressive, right? But you know what the number one takeaway was?
You and your podcast.
The Stronger After Stroke podcast, because it's a free gift to humanity. Anybody in the world who has the internet can access that and benefit from it right now without having to wait. And so because it got that notoriety and impact at that moment, I had people reaching out to me from all over, from all these different health backgrounds, who were like, I want to be on your podcast. And I'm like, I bet you do, but you don't have anything to do with stroke. But they had great things to say, right? They were passionate about what they cared about. They want to make healthcare better. And so I created Nurse Rosa's Insights, which is on the Health Podcast Network. And I get to interview healthcare stakeholders about their vision for how to transform healthcare and make things better.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that too, because then you're not obviously only helping just stroke victims, but you could be helping anybody that goes through any certain things. And then this one is yours, right? This one where you can talk about and you control and you do what you want on that, and you can interview anybody.
Exactly. Like I got to interview a physical therapist from Ireland who basically prescribes my stroke podcast to his patients, but we were able to talk about like the innovations and research he's been doing that have even more broad impact. And so, yeah, there's a whole lot that I've been able to do through the Nurse Rosa's Insights podcast. And then one of my guests on the stroke podcast, Dr. Tatiana Rundeck from the University of Miami, she enjoyed her interview so much because she said I made her not feel afraid of the camera and like really, I was able to remind her, you're a world leader in this research field. Like, I'm honored to talk to you for one thing, right? But then also, when we were talking, we could just be so conversational about kind of what she's used to talking about on a really high level, to talk about it in a way that anybody can understand, right? The way I was asking her questions as a nurse was able to be translated into, I guess, common people speak. And so she was like, I want you to come do that with the other neurologists on my team, and we'll do more and talk about more elements of brain health. So now I'm actually a consultant for the University of Miami Miller School of Medicine at the McKnight Brain Institute. And we are putting out a new podcast called Aging Like a Pro. So
I love the Rosa that I met. She was trying to do food and everything. And this is so evolved. I love the food thing and keep doing that because we love that. This has evolved into so much more. And I bet you it's so much more than you ever probably could have thought of either.
Yes.
I'm so excited for you. I'm like almost about to cry. I'm so excited that
I wish you were in person so I could just hug you.
Well, and the funny thing is that people don't, like, we probably live like probably 5-10 minutes apart.
But kids' schedules just
we're gonna get together and do something with that. Oh my God. So the aging one hasn't started yet.
Well, the first 3 episodes are available on YouTube, but the official like audio podcast launch hasn't happened yet. So stay tuned. But if you look it up, you'll be able to see it. And I tell you what, that first episode, there's this sleep neurologist, Dr. Christian Agadello, and girl, if he doesn't end up with a PBS show out of this, I don't know how, because that man is so entertaining to listen to. He's such a good storyteller, but he's like talking about like the huge significance of sleep and how much it impacts your overall health, and then what you can do to have better sleep. And, you know, in Western society, we just are so bad at sleeping. So it's really important, and I'm excited to get to explore that some more.
Okay. I'm definitely listening to that. I'm listening to all, but I'm definitely listening to that one because everybody knows sleep is important, but sometimes you just need to be reminded of it, and then you need to be told the reasons why, because, you know, sometimes we just do our own thing or whatever. This is so amazing.
You've got your baby to take care of.
Yeah, I know. Baby and life and all the other things that have happened. This is so exciting. Like, I'm so glad that you are on here, and because I didn't know. I knew you were doing the stroke one. I knew you were doing the foodie one. And I don't think I knew you were doing the other ones. May have seen it in passing, but now that I know, 1, I'm going to be a subscriber. 2, I'm definitely going to be sharing your stuff. And I love that, like, my audience gets to tap into this from you and learn something. Like, it's so like
it's transferable skills.
Yes.
Right.
So educational. I want to bring like education. I want to bring things to people that they've never even thought of, that didn't know that they needed, and they can use them in their everyday life, whether it's business, whether it's, you know, taking care of your kid or yourself or whatever. So this has been great. And you're talking about how you have all these podcasts. I'm getting ready to start another one. I haven't put it out. Yes.
It's kind of a secret.
Well, it's not a secret. I've talked to other people about it. It's about infertility. So like an IVF and infertility, because I went through the IVF and infertility, and I just feel like that needs to be talked about more. So
there's a lot of components that people don't understand.
Right. Understand that, you know, and then people are scared of it, and the other people that are not doing it don't understand. So that's why sometimes people may make comments about things, but if you don't know, then you know. Anyway, so hopefully that will be out the beginning of the year. That's the plan. We're starting that. So that just put that out there because Rosa was talking about all the stuff she was doing.
Right. Well, and that's the thing is podcasting can be so specific.
Mm-hmm.
Each one focuses on a different topic. And I love that because it really helps you focus the conversation and not get lost on rabbit trails, I guess is what my mama would have called it.
And running around in circles. Awesome. So what are a couple of your main takeaways that you can tell somebody? I always have people leave here with 3 things that can be helpful to them that you would suggest.
So first of all, saying yes to new experiences, because that's how all of this started. I really had more of a default setting of no. I said no to a lot of things, which was easy when I was working in the ICU and exhausted all the time. But, trying new foods, meeting new people, going new places, because especially if you're content where you are, okay, maybe don't rock the boat. But if you are at all dissatisfied, then it's probably time to just say yes to a new opportunity and a new experience, even if it's small, even if it is just trying a new food, because in trying that new food, maybe that opens up a whole new world of possibilities and frame of reference for you to have a conversation with a person you may never have had anything in common with before. You're like, I love enchiladas, whereas I didn't know I liked enchiladas before. Then you have this great conversation with a stranger about enchiladas, and they tell you about this amazing other opportunity, and then you just follow this rabbit trail of opportunities into a very exciting new path.
See what happened to Rosa. She didn't know what you knew what a podcast was, but you didn't really know how to start one. And
yeah, I mean, I felt like I didn't know what a podcast was. I watched YouTube videos and I thought podcasts had to be audio only, but I guess most of them weren't video at the time, right?
Right. I do both. I do video and audio. So
yeah.
And then what else can we see from you besides a bunch of podcasts and coming in the future?
Well, follow me on social media at Rosa Raves for food, travel experiences. I keep it positive. I'm not a food critic. I'm an enthusiast. And I have some exciting things I'm going to try coming up. So stay tuned. And then my other social media handle is at Nurse Rosa Speaks. And Rosa Raves and at Nurse Rosa Speaks are on all the different platforms. So I try to keep it consistent. And on Nurse Rosa Speaks, I do a combination of stroke awareness and nurse empowerment.
This has been amazing. We will put all of Rosa's information down below, her podcast links, her social media links. So definitely give her a follow, give her a share. I mean, it's free. We always talk about how can we support each other. It doesn't necessarily take money, but just share the stuff, because you never know if her stroke podcast can help someone, or her aging podcast can help someone, or somebody's just looking for a good food and a good tequila, sometimes that's what I'm looking for. And that could help somebody, especially if they're coming, to Louisville and maybe beyond, because, she's going to be.
Well, if you're coming for Louisville, you're probably coming for the bourbon, not the tequila, just saying, but.
Yeah, but you can have both, We don't
you can. I hear that new steak and bourbon has some top shelf tequila.
Does it? Have you been there? You've been there?
I haven't been to the new one, but one of my coworkers went and he said that most expensive tequila is out of this world.
Ooh. All right. Putting it on the list.
Might have to be brave. Try something new.
Yeah, you'll be there next. I'm going to watch your social media. You'll be there next. Rosa, thank you so much for coming on and talking about all the things that you have going on, giving us some little tidbits of, how we can be healthier, what we can eat, and all things above Louisville and everything. I totally look forward to seeing what you have coming up and what you're doing. I'm definitely going to be following you, but I truly appreciate it. And let's make that happen where I can be on this podcast. So you all stay tuned for that, because I'm going to make sure that happens. So, thank you so much for listening to the Social
for having me, Allie.
You're welcome. You're welcome. She might be on again because she has all these great things happening. And I like people that have good stuff going on. I like to bring them back and see
Yeah.
in the future. So stay tuned. She'll probably be on another one. Like I said, I'm always looking for a guest. You know where to find me. I'll put all my information down below, and we will see you in the next episode. So thank you all for tuning in. Share and like and comment if you can. All right. Bye.
Bye.